there. I'm talking to Jen Louden, and I'm very excited about this opportunity to speak with Jen. I feel like I've known her for quite some time, although I've never spoken with her, but having lived some of her journey with her and shared some of her stories, it feels like we are soul sisters even before we've met. Jen, I welcome to Sophia Leadership and to this particular journey. What I'm doing is I am asking people to share their stories of surrender, really. I'm calling it let go of the ground and taste the sky. And it's been part of my journey to have to let go of the ground and really learn to surrender to whatever it is you want to call it, the mystery, the divine, the calling, surrender to something that is mysterious and out of our control a lot of times. And but to do that in order to evolve into what we are called to be and can be. So, Jen, I just wanted to invite you to share a story. I know you've been through quite a lot probably over the years in terms of surrender. So I just would like to ask you to share some story that helps us understand what this whole idea is about, letting go of the ground.
Yes. Well, I want to say straight up that I feel like I've been fighting surrendering for a long time. And I don't know if so I think the image that I always had of surrender from reading in books, especially like reading Sue Monk Kidd, I know we're both fans of Sue's work. I always kind of thought that it would be neater than it is. Or that it would be more poetic, or it would lead to this incredibly best-selling novel or something. So I just want to state for the record that I fight it, that I have fought it for 10 years, and that what I notice now looking back, and this is a narrative that I'm making up, right? So we're all making up narratives. The narrative I'm making up is that little by little I've been willing to surrender, but there is lots more to come. And so the story of that would look like 11 almost years ago, selling at that point, I think it was my 5th or 6th book, to my publisher, and then sitting down to write it and saying, I can't write it. And telling my publisher, they actually hadn't given me the money yet, so I didn't have to actually painfully return a check. But I did have to, say, hey, I don't want to do this book. And that I was pretty much the sole breadwinner for our family. And I had a fair amount of success. So we were living, we lived in Montecito in Santa Barbara. And, I needed to make 150 grand a year to keep that lifestyle going. And I freaked. And so we sold our house and we moved up to the Northwest and radically changed our lives in a matter of a few months, really. I went back to school. I went to coaching school. And I decided I was going to coach and write fiction and live up here in the woods where it's cheaper. And somehow I did that, and yet I kept doing what I do, right? I kept the website going. I didn't leave my identity. I kept negotiating it. And so I tell you that story because it's probably not the story you're looking for, but because it's the story of what I think is ending in a way right now. And that ending began last July when I called out to my friend Christina Baldwin, who you also had studied with, and I said, Christina, I'm really in doubt, and I'm tired, and I don't know what to do, and my work is not speaking to me anymore. And you know how deft she is, just with a couple of questions. She got me to this place where I kind of went, oh, I think my work is to help us try to do something about the fact that the world is disintegrating. And to try to help us wake up to that in a way that isn't fear-based, that somehow relies and uses comfort. And it was one of those moments, Heather, I always want the moments with the fireworks. I want the moment where the angels descend. And instead it was one of those moments, and I've had them repeatedly in my life, where it was like a clunk. Oh. That. Oh. That. And then I went upstairs in the middle of our conversation. It was a beautiful day here in the Northwest in July, and I was out in the backyard talking, and she started to say all these really smart things, so I ran upstairs to write them down on my computer, and I wrote in a Word document, and then, a few hours later, I came up to kind of close up for the day, and the Word document said, save, and I said, oh, no, don't save. I never don't save my work. I save like the stupidest scraps of things. And as soon as I pushed the button, I went, oh, holy fuck! So this is my example of surrender, change, love change, leave my friends, leave my community, leave where my daughter was born in Santa Barbara and move up here on a whim to a freaking island. And then contract again and say, well, I did write a novel and I did become a great coach and all of those things happened, but I didn't really leave comfort. I didn't leave what was safe.
Right.
I kept reinventing. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying I think surrender for some of us happens and identity shifting happens in stages.
Take it a little bit into Teach Now right now, because I'm totally jazzed about Teach Now, as you know. I mean, I took it last time, and really, it was just as I was launching into my self-employment journey and launching into this dream. I mean, I'd done a fair bit of kind of workshops and things and kind of building up to that and teaching staff. I'd been in leadership for a long time, but it was the first time I'd taken on, I would actually been offered a university course to teach. And I really needed to be fed in that journey, and Teach Now was exactly the thing I needed. Like it couldn't have come at a better time possibly, and I could go on and on raving about it, but it was really, for me, to be honest with you, what it did was it helped me, and we'll go back to what we were talking about at the beginning, it helped me let go of the ground, because here I was going into a university setting, and I had in my mind what a university teacher is supposed to be, and how, what I was supposed to, how I was supposed to frame the class and things like that. And then I launched into Teach Now, and I let go of all those ideas and really significantly took a leap into the teacher that I'm meant to be, and not a university teacher. And I mean, I'm carrying my little Tibetan singing bowl into my university classroom, and creating the container and things like that. And
that's fabulous.
It's quite remarkable. And my students say repeatedly that they've never been in a class quite like this. Some of them with some wonder, and many with amount of awe. And that is because I learned to trust in a new way with the Teach Now. So I just love to hear you talk a little bit about your thinking on teaching and what it takes to let go of the ground as a teacher to really trust the process and trust where you're going with it.
Well, I think what allows us, first of all, thank you so much for saying all that. And I think what allows us to let go of the ground is knowing there's other people who are letting go of the ground. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest problem we have, which is one of the benefits of the internet that we can talk to each other like this right now, is that we get so isolated. Mm-hmm. And then we get isolated in general, but we also get isolated specifically. Like, I didn't know this was okay. I didn't know this was a possibility. I mean, it's the same thing with service, right? So in some ways, what allowed you to trust yourself was to hear all those master teacher interviews and people you revered or whose work you knew saying, oh yeah, that was a problem for me too, or oh yeah, this was the moment for me. Like when Elizabeth Lesser, who co-founded Omega, talks about being backstage with everyone from Maya Angelou to the Dalai Lama, and they all get nervous and they all scared, and realizing that she could step into, because she was always in her husband's shadow, and she was always the support person for Ram Dass and all these other people, and for her to finally step into her teaching, which is, she was doing that right around the time we met and became friends. My conversation with Elizabeth at Omega 10 plus years ago was one of the most important conversations I ever had, because she was somebody I already really revered, and we had lunch together just by chance, and I was talking about, I was just having the hardest teaching experience of my life that week, and she just was there to talk about, without any judgment, to talk to me about it and to share her own difficulties. Mm-hmm. And so I think that planted the seed for Teach Now, to give us a place to be able to connect with each other around the shadow of it, the difficulties of it, and the heart of it, that it's such a tender place to teach.
Are you ready to fly?